Right now, right now. 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 Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We've got to add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. They always have been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the government has been getting bigger. Hey guys, what's going on? Jebb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto. This is your morning show where we go live 10 a.m. Eastern every single weekday, except for today, because my stream computer was giving me issues. So luckily, whenever I stream at home, I stream off of this laptop, which you can see right here. Look, it's got the Crypto Jebb logo. Let's see if it'll come into focus. It doesn't want to do it. It's got the Crypto Jebb logo on there anyway. Anyway, we're going live off of this laptop because the stream computer didn't want to work, and I had the ability to run it off of this computer. And frankly, I might just cut out the $15,000 of equipment over here anyway and run the stream off of this laptop because it might honestly just be simpler and be a better backup. But we're here today, and today we are going to talk about, for the next hour, we'll go 10 minutes over because we started 10 minutes late. Sorry about that. We're going to be talking about how Sam Bankman-Fried going to $100,000 very well may just send Bitcoin itself to $100,000. You see what I did there? Well, this entire show is based off of this article that I will go ahead and show you. Whew. This is a sad one. Report, former billionaire Sam Bankman-Fried says he's down to $100,000 in his bank account. But like, seriously, guys, this is actually really sad. I do feel bad for the guy. This is his own doing, of course, and Sam Bankman-Fried needs to be held accountable for his actions, and Carolyn Ellison and everybody do as well. But it is sad because the dude was worth $26 billion, and now hopefully he has a roof over his head at the end of the month. You know, we always talk about, oh, well, if something goes bad in Bitcoin or crypto, we can always go back to working at McDonald's. Well, you might just find an SBF working at a Mickey D's in a town near you sometime soon. Hopefully not. I really hope that things turn out better for him than that. Anyway, the article says this: Sam Bankman-Fried, the former cryptocurrency exchange CEO and once one of the richest people in the world, is down to his last 100 grand after the rapid failure of FTX, Axios is reporting. Here's the quote you're looking for. Am I allowed to say a negative number? He told the outlet when asked about his personal finances. I mean, I have no idea. I don't know. I had $100,000 in my bank account last I checked, he said, when he was worth $26.5 billion. Bankman-Fried said basically everything he had was tied up in the now failed company, making his financial situation a song by Avril Lavigne named Complicated. So yeah, I'm really... It really is unfortunate what's going on with Sam Bankman-Fried. But today we're going to talk about how the doom and the demise and the destruction and the death and the desolation of FTX actually may end up being the spark for the phoenix of the ashes of Bitcoin to rise again and for us to go back to $100,000. Not back to $100,000, back to $69,000 and all the way up to $100,000 in the next several years. Let's go ahead and read some chat, though. Really appreciate all of you guys tuning in. It looks like Rock and Metal News was the first one saying, hey guys, what's up? Mike Lowry in chat said, good morning, CNC family. Happy hump day. Hashtag FinSov. Hello. Happy hump day. Grand Roofing Incorporated is in chat. I'm feeling good today, guys. I've got some coffee here. Remember, we got the coffee here. This is Coffee and Crypto, by the way. So if you are not familiar, we go live 10 a.m. Eastern every single weekday, and we bring you the latest in cryptocurrency technical and on-chain and fundamental analysis so that you can be well-informed on the cryptocurrency market so you can go out and make yourself a ton of money and achieve financial sovereignty. We drink coffee every day, so 1, 2, 3, boom, cheers. Let's keep reading those green names. Really appreciate everybody who is a member and for the continued support. Mitch Shaw in chat, Mike Lowry in chat, CW in chat, Grand Roofing again in chat. Let's see, the Classic IT guy in chat. Hey, I was the first name outside of the mods. You were the first name outside of the mods. Let's go. Yeah, Mike Lowry, Matt C. Everybody is in chat. Martine Siebels. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. And, yeah. So, guys, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. He ruined families financially. I don't feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for all the people he ruined. Yeah, I feel a whole lot more sorry for all of the creditors to FTX than I do for Sam Bankman-Fried. But look, I mean, if somebody's facing their, whenever my son does something wrong and he has to be disciplined for it, I feel bad for him, even though he earned the discipline, right? You know, that's called compassion. I have compassion on people, even if they are straight up evil. And I'm not saying it's SBF is or is not. He certainly screwed up. I don't know the guy, so I'm going to let the judges be the judge. I'm going to let God be God. Nevertheless, he does need to be held accountable for what he did, and I'm definitely not going to back down on that. I've been one of the loudest voices saying that he needs to be in jail for what he did. He absolutely does. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at CoinMarketCap. As you can see, Bitcoin is up over the last 24 hours, despite the fact that about 24 hours ago, BlockFi announced that they were, about 48 hours ago, BlockFi, in fact, it was 10:37 a.m. on Monday, BlockFi announced on Twitter that they will be filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. That was just under 48 hours ago. Ever since then, Bitcoin's actually been doing quite well. It is up 2.79% over the last 24 hours, and Ethereum is up 12.65% over the last 24 hours. I'm sorry, not 12.56%. I was reading the number. It's up 4.82%, 4.79% to 1265. That's a funny typo, funny tongue twisted there. And everything else is doing pretty well. Binance is basically trading sideways. The stable coins are continuing to trade sideways. XRP is actually up today, which is interesting, and we're going to jump into why that's interesting here in a little while. Luna is also up. Excuse me, not Luna. Lumens, Stellar Lumens is also up today, which is equally interesting. We're going to explain why those things are interesting a little bit later. But first, we need to do the must watch. If you guys don't know, we go over Elon Musk's Twitter every single day here to see what he is talking about. So as I said, let's go ahead and jump into the must watch. We need to see what he is up to. He is currently gaining. Let's just go ahead and check Social Blade really quickly. I have the number in my head. Social Bald. No, we're going to look at Social Blade. Elon Musk's Twitter. This dude, if you don't know what this site is, we're not affiliated with them. I've just used Social Blade for years. They give you different analytics for different creators on the site. You can go look me up or BitBoy or other content creators on Social Blade to see their analytics. But you can see he is gaining like an insane number of followers every single day. He's gaining 600, 300, 200, 500,000 followers a day, averaging out at 250,000 followers a day on Twitter. And it makes sense because he owns the platform. I mean, you would expect him to be having a ton of following going on, but you can see here, he says, Twitter core service latency reduced by 400 milliseconds, should feel noticeably faster. Let's go over here. I don't know why I ever would, but let's just go over here. It does, honestly, feel slightly faster. So, you know, to all the haters that said Elon Musk was going to destroy Twitter, I really, it doesn't seem to be happening. Although there was a funny article, and I don't have it up here. I was reading it this morning, but there was a funny article of, there have been so many people fired at Twitter that a bunch of people have gotten accidentally fired that the HR that's in charge of payroll and in charge of all of the employee logging has a category in their back office system titled accidentally terminated. So all of the employee IDs from people that accidentally got fired, they have a log for that. So there must be dozens or hundreds of people that accidentally got fired from Twitter and now they're being brought back online. So that's a bit of a yikes. But Elon Musk and Twitter are now hiring again. Just a couple more things here. You can see this is pretty cool. He said, CNN, Elon Musk could threaten free speech on Twitter by literally allowing people to speak freely. Could you believe it? But then Community Notes came in here and corrected him. And Elon Musk accurately said, if Community Notes can correct me, then obviously they can correct anyone. This is a good example. They were right to add the label. Good job, Elon Musk, for pointing that out and continuing to have Community Notes, because obviously freedom of speech is a very important thing to a modern democracy, but you also want to make sure that you have information that is not just blatantly false being presented as true, because obviously this is not an article that CNN would have run. They would have said it a whole lot more slyly than that. They wouldn't have made it that blatant that it was made in Photoshop. Anyway, let's move on here to Bitcoin. Bitcoin on the 4-hourly chart, currently witnessing a strong buy signal from Lux Algo, and that's very exciting to me because, as you know, Bitcoin has been under a sell signal ever since before the FTX disaster and catastrophe took place. We have been under that sell signal. Right now, we have now seen a buy signal, and that could mean that this jump over the last 24 hours is the first step towards a breakout and a rally on Bitcoin. And that is something that we would very much like to see, and it would also solidify this concept that maybe, just maybe, the bottom is actually already in for Bitcoin. It is very possible that the bottom for Bitcoin is actually already in. I don't know if it is. Nobody can tell you that until we have it as historical precedent, but this could be the first step in the right direction. If you remember yesterday, I talked about levels of resistance up here around $17,000. Those levels of resistance, I'll just go ahead and draw this at exactly $17,000 actually. These levels of resistance are very critical because these levels of resistance are the levels that Bitcoin really needs to break through if it has any hope of proving itself being able to move to the upside. As you can see, we've had a strong sell signal, a sell-off, and then we've come down here and tested this same zone of support over and over and over again, dropping into this zone at least 3 times, almost dropping into it a 4th. That indicates that there's not a lot of strength from the bulls because we've been setting lower lows and consistently very low lows, but we have not managed to have a break to the upside. But this could be the first step in that direction. If Bitcoin's strong buy signal here is able to get confirmation from indicators such as the trend catcher, with it jumping to the upside and turning green, such as us jumping up to the take profit up here, which is currently sitting at its base at 17.2, jumping all the way to 18,000. If we're able to see things like Lux Oscillator come into play here with green, which it has, and rally all the way up to the top and then sit up there for a time, similar to what you saw happen back over here where we jumped up and loitered around that 70 to 80 region, then you're going to see a lot more of an argument for a break to the upside on Bitcoin. And it then would be possible that this was the absolute bottom. However, I have to stress that I am not confident at all that the bottom is in for Bitcoin yet. And the reason is because there are so many technical factors and fundamental factors that are still at play. Let's just list off a few of them. Number one, you still have a massive conflict in Ukraine. I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent here for just a second, but it's going to tie back in. Ukraine and Russia being in conflict is directly impacting the supply chain of the entire planet. It's directly impacting the staple crops that the Middle East and Northern Africa utilize to actually be able to feed themselves, sowing dissent between North Africa and the Middle East and the Western allies, because Russia has successfully convinced those nations that them not getting the shipments from Ukraine is NATO's fault for helping Ukraine and not helping Russia in the invasion, rather than Russia being the one blockading the port of Odessa, which is where all of those grain exports that Ukraine creates and grows come out of. Ukraine is one of the biggest bread baskets in the entire world with a population of 41 million and massive, massive exports of wheat, sunflower oil, and many other essential commodities. So that is causing a major geopolitical conundrum, which is impacting markets the world over. Then you also have, of course, the massive humanitarian crisis. Nearly a third of Ukraine has been forced to turn into refugees and flee to other parts of the country or other parts of Europe, which has put a big strain on the European economy, which all of a sudden has had 5 to 10 million people come into it all of a sudden. And that's a wonderful thing. That's incredible that Europe has come together to help Ukraine, but it is a burden on a system that was already undergoing a difficult winter because of the natural gas exports being shut down by Russia. So Europe is under a big strain right now. Europe being under a lot of strain right now puts a lot of strain on the United States, being that we are all very, very closely interconnected relationally, geopolitically, financially, militarily. In all of these ways, the North American Treaty Organization, NATO, the NATO alliance is very, very closely interconnected economically, politically, relationally, culturally. So when things are difficult in Europe, things inevitably are going to be difficult in the United States. Of course, Bitcoin is mostly mined, created, and utilized in the free world. It is utilized somewhat in, the developing world and in China, but for the most part, Bitcoin and innovation on the blockchain is happening in the United States, or it's happening in Europe. And Europe and the United States right now are under a lot of struggle right now because of the conflict in Ukraine and how much we're supporting Ukraine. I'll be very transparent. I think we should be supporting Ukraine. But the fact of the matter is it does put a strain on all of those economies, and it also keeps this cloud of uncertainty hovering over us. And so how this ties into Bitcoin is that, number one, the dollar is the Federal Reserve wants to keep the dollar very strong. And this is, again, I'm going to pull all of this back into how Sam Bankman-Fried going to $100,000 is going to send Bitcoin to $100,000. But because of the conflict with Russia, I'm actually going to go to full screen because I need to explain another point here. Because of the conflict with Russia, the United States and NATO have been presented with a once-in-a-multi-decade opportunity to break Russia as far as a world power. Russia putting itself out there and attacking Ukraine completely of its own volition. But completely of its own volition. They got into that quagmire on their own. That's Russia's fault. But them doing that presented the United States and NATO with an opportunity to break Russia in a way that they wouldn't have had an opportunity to otherwise, because Russia was the aggressor and there's no currently World War III going on. what the NATO alliance can do is massively fund Ukraine with all kinds of equipment, training. Many of the Ukrainian regulars right now are being trained in NATO countries, in France, Germany, the United States, the United Kingdom, and also all of the technical expertise, the entire kill chain, that the HIMARS systems that Ukraine has right now that are being utilized against the Russians. They are almost 90% of the kill chain is being used by space-based assets that the United States owns. So we are massively helping Ukraine to try and break Russia, which seems to be trying to break out and reestablish the Soviet Union. So the United States has a chance right now, a once in a multi-generation chance. It's the biggest chance we've had since 1991 with the fall of the Berlin Wall, to break Russia so that it never becomes a world power again that would pose a threat against the West, which it has tried to break the West for the last 30 years and going back farther than that. What the United States monetary policy has to do with this and how this impacts Bitcoin is very important. The U.S. government realizes that the next 12 months is going to be crucial. Things are going to slow down for the winter in the conflict, and then with all of the equipment that Ukraine has gotten from Russia, and Russia mobilizing 500,000 new troops, come May, you're going to see a massive slugfest, and there's going to be, hopefully, a very quick end to the war, but we don't know that. What the United States wants to do is utilize this opportunity to strengthen the U.S. dollar and maintain its world reserve currency status while also using its economic resources to continue to push Russia into a pin. All the United States needs to do right now is support Ukraine and keep an extremely strong currency. And then in that geopolitical landscape, Russia may eventually cave and break under its own internal demographical and economic forces. So the United States has a vested interest insofar as wanting to beat Russia so that Russia doesn't attack us in some way. I don't necessarily mean in a hot war, but in a cold war. They have a vested interest in maintaining an extremely strong dollar and leading NATO in an extremely strong way. What that means is that, one, this conflict is going to continue, and that's going to leave a cloud of uncertainty over the stock market. And as you guys know, the stock market has been struggling ever since February 24th when this conflict began. And even a couple of months before that, when we saw the buildup happening in January. The global stock market, especially the United States stock market, has a massive correlation with Bitcoin. We've been in a bear market on the stock market pretty much as long as we've been in a bear market with Bitcoin. So that's the first reason that conflict ties in to Bitcoin. The second reason is because the conflict is being fought economically by the free world right now. The NATO alliance is not fighting Russia with boots on the ground. They're fighting Russia by sending equipment to the men that are bravely fighting for their country in Ukraine and giving technical support to the kill chain for the missiles that we sent over there with HIMARS and technical expertise for the javelins and the training and everything that we sent across the pond. All of that is financial. This is a proxy war, is what it is that the West is in. And a proxy war is always fought economically first, and culturally, and based on rhetoric. But the rhetoric is already against Russia. Russia never expected that the rhetoric would turn this strongly against them, which it should, because they are clearly the aggressor and in the wrong. Nevertheless, what that means is that the United States wants to maintain an extremely strong dollar, which means that all of this inflation that was happening because of the pandemic needs to be gotten under control. The way that they're doing that is aggressively raising rates. As you guys know, we're already sitting at 4%, the effective federal funds rate. Right now, the effective federal funds rate is predicted to jump by 50 basis points on December 14th. That would be a rate slowdown of the increase. But then, hopefully anyway, we would see the effective federal funds rate start to plateau. But again, remember, the United States, and the Federal Reserve knows this because they're part of the United States, has a vested interest in having a very strong dollar. One of the ways you keep a very strong dollar, and one of the ways that you get the Dixie to rally as fast as it has, which the Dixie has rallied all the way up to one of the highest levels that it's been at going back the last 20 years. I mean, this right here is where the Dixie is at. We have not seen the Dixie at this level since November of 2002. Again, the Dixie is an index showing the strength of the U.S. dollar against a basket of other world reserve currencies. Other world currencies. Bitcoin, the United States is a world reserve currency against other world currencies. So the United States wants to maintain an extremely strong dollar, so it maintains that hegemony, so that it maintains the economic leverage against the Soviet Union, the former Soviet Union, because when the Soviet Union was around, the way that we broke them was culturally and economically. Now, the same thing's afoot. Make no mistake. We're getting a glimpse of what the Cold War was like right now. Proxy wars, fighting culturally and economically, and not in a shooting war because we don't want to get nukes out. That's exactly what's going on right now. And at this point, the last time there was a Cold War, it broke the Soviet Union. This time, it looks like it very well may break Russia, which is what's left of the 15-nation alliance, one of the nations being Russia, the other 14 being behind the Iron Curtain. which are now free, the Ukraine being one of them. 13 of those are now NATO allied or even in NATO themselves, only one of them being Russia aligned, that being the nation of Belarus. Anyway, the United States wants to maintain a strong dollar so that it can fight that economic war. It's going to do that by continuing to aggressively increase rates. And so when we see a 50 basis point rate hike come in here on December 14th, make no mistake, we very well may see a 50 basis point rate hike happen again. And in fact, that's what the CME group right here is predicting is most likely, is not a slowdown to 25 basis points and a plateau at 4.75, but a 50 basis point rate hike seems to be what they think is most likely in the February 1st meeting. We'll have to see. There's still a lot more time, and obviously there's a lot more things impacting the United States' monetary policy other than the conflict in Ukraine, but it is one of the biggest impactors of monetary policy. And remember, the way that the United States is fighting this economic war, this Cold War, is impacting the SPY and the Dixie. And Bitcoin is correlated to both of them. Let me show you how all of this ties in. So we come here to a Bitcoin chart, a clean Bitcoin chart. I'm just going to show you the Dixie, and then I'm also going to compare it here to the SPY, that being the SPY. This is going to show up crystal clear to you. Because of the conflict in Ukraine, the stock market has taken a dive. Because of the conflict in Ukraine and the already ongoing process of fighting inflation that was caused because of the 2020 pandemic, the Dixie has been rallying. With the Dixie rallying and the stock market going down, that is a perfect storm for Bitcoin to crash because Bitcoin is both correlated linearly with the stock market, but it's also inversely correlated with the Dixie. So the restructuring of our economy and the attempt to save our currency from massive inflation that was put into motion by the 2020 and 2021 pandemic caused a massive drop in the stock market. On top of that, it caused a massive rally on the Dixie. Going alongside that, the double whammy is that the Ukraine conflict caused a massive drop in the stock market because of global uncertainty and supply chain disruption. And that also caused the U.S. monetary policy to become even more hawkish to fight an economic battle against the former Soviet Union to help our allies in Ukraine. Both of those factors led to the bear market of Bitcoin being very quick. We already had a feeling that Bitcoin would go into a bear market here. It lined up with the cycle. So not only did we have the Dixie and the SPY fighting against us, not only did we have the Ukraine conflict massively impacting the United States, not only did we have massive supply chain and food export issues impacting Bitcoin, we also had, and this is where we bring Sam Bankman-Fried in, we also had Sam Bankman-Fried going to $100,000. So how do all of those background geopolitical factors and Sam Bankman-Fried going to $100,000 send Bitcoin to $100,000? Let me explain. But first, let me go ahead and read some chat. I really appreciate all 750 of you guys tuning in. If you are watching today's stream, smash that like button. I really appreciate all of you tuning in. And yeah, somebody said, Shannon Sharp said, nice shirt. Thank you. It's a Gatlinburg shirt. I was born in Gatlinburg. We went up there a few months ago, my wife and my son and I, and so we had a ton of fun up there. A lot of you guys are probably, again, wondering why I'm talking about geopolitics, but you cannot remove geopolitics from cryptocurrency and expect to have a full understanding of geopolitics. We're also going to talk about crypto. We got to talk about SBF. We're going to talk about Coinbase delistings and a few other news stories, but we want to make sure we have the whole picture. Let's see. Shout out to Crypto Mini Bike. What's up, man? My favorite place when it comes to Christmas. I'm not sure where you mean. Fun fact, Russia was denied NATO entry in the 90s. There was talk, it wasn't very serious talk about Russia potentially becoming EU and NATO aligned. That did not end up happening, obviously. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and talk about Sam Bankman-Fried here in just a second. Let's see. Let's see. Cool. All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump into it. So here's how the Sam Bankman-Fried news ties into Bitcoin. But first, let's again go back to the report that I showed you at the beginning of the stream. Former billionaire Sam Bankman-Fried says he's down to $100,000 in bank account. Oof. Sam Bankman-Fried, the former cryptocurrency exchange CEO and once one of the richest people in the world, is down to his last $100,000 after the rapid failure of FTX, Axios is reporting. At one point, Bankman-Fried's personal wealth reached $26.5 billion. Am I allowed to say a negative number? He told the outlet when asked about his personal finances. I mean, I have no idea. I don't know. I had $100,000 in my bank account last I checked. Bankman-Fried said basically everything he had was tied up in the now failed company, making his financial situation complicated. It's really sad. Yeah. I mean, it's really not. You know, I'm far more sad for all of the creditors that were on FTX that got screwed because of Sam Bankman-Fried. By the way, a report came out on a interview that Sam Bankman-Fried did, a phone interview, that Bankman-Fried never opened the code of FTX and so had no idea how to make a backdoor. That's convenient. So we'll see what the truth is. I don't take Sam Bankman-Fried for an honest individual, or I don't think a lot of this would happen. So yeah, I don't think that's the case. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about Sam Bankman-Fried, though. How does he going to $100,000 impact Bitcoin going to $100,000? Okay, so let's back up. I'm going to tie it all together. I know a lot of you guys in chat are wondering, why are you talking about Ukraine? Why are you talking about geopolitics? Why are you talking about all of these things? Here's why. The Russia-Ukraine conflict started at the beginning of the bear market for Bitcoin. That was on top of a resurgent supply chain crisis that was going on the world over, which caused a drop in the stock market, which caused the United States to continue with its aggressive monetary policy. Bitcoin was heavily impacted by all of these factors, and when that occurred, that caused Bitcoin to drop so far that we weeded out a lot of the bad actors. A lot of the, as Kevin O'Leary said, idiot managers. I wouldn't call them that, but he called them that on an interview here on this channel. There were plenty of people in the cryptocurrency space that were not operating in a, one, very smart way, or two, a very ethical and honest way. Sam Bankman-Fried, in my opinion, fell into all three of those categories, both into not ethical, not honest, and not very intelligent. Unfortunately, what's done is done, but the good news, the silver lining, if you will, is that all of this serves as the catalyst and the burn for a controlled burn in the cryptocurrency space. I say controlled burn, not so much control. This is more like a lightning strikes and hasn't rained in 4 months and the whole thing goes up in flames, but it doesn't die. It's going to stick around. The force will recover. Remember the analogy I've told you guys about how a forest has to have fires every few years to clear out the dead debris and to reset. It's the great reset of a forest. The forest fires come and they burn away all of the dead debris, all of the detritus, and then the forest floor is able to revitalize itself and be reborn and continue to grow even healthier. Well, that has to happen in Bitcoin as well. And so over the last 12, 13 years that Bitcoin's been active, we've had three major controlled burns, and I'll show you them right now. We've had a bear market right here, we've had a bear market right here, and we've had a bear market that we're in right now. But just keep in mind, the bull market typically lasts twice as long. The bull market normally lasts 900 days. The bear market normally lasts about 400 days. We just so happen to find ourselves in the bear market right now. You look at the grand scheme of things and you realize, wow, this really isn't that big of a deal, what we're in right now. Yeah, we're down 74 or 75%, but it's okay. This is a controlled burn that's weeding out the bad actors like FTX, BlockFi, Voyager Digital, Three Arrows Capital, Celsius, Core Scientific, Argo Blockchain, the last two being publicly traded miners. All of these companies, they were building their companies on the back of a leverage position, are getting weeded out, FTX being the largest one of them. Why does FTX go into $100,000? Why does Sam Bankman-Fried go into 100K, help Bitcoin get to 100K? Here's why. Because Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX were the essence of what was wrong with the way that companies were being built in cryptocurrency. It was heavily invested in by centralized actors, heavily ideologically aligned with traditional finance and centralized actors, heavily in the back pocket of regulators who were not acting in the best interest of the cryptocurrency space. They also were practicing fractional reserve lending and having nowhere near enough assets to cover the liabilities that they had. They had $8.9 billion in liabilities on November 10th. They had less than $1 billion in assets that they could easily liquidate without crashing the price of the tokens that they were invested in. One of their own being FTT, which crashed and burned. The fractional reserve lending was one of the biggest issues that we've seen in exchanges. That's one of the reasons that BlockFi went under. BlockFi was already on life support that was being helped plugged in by FTX. And when FTX fell over, then they got unplugged too. And now BlockFi is going down. Luna went down. How could we not mention Luna? Luna going down was one of the big things in this forest fire. Sam Bankman-Fried going bankrupt and him being down to his last $100,000 signals the beginning of the last chapter of the burn. Period. This burn has spread. It started with Bitcoin dropping below 60, then below 50, and then you had the Ukraine conflict, and then you had the interest rate starting to hike again. And that was the beginning. That was the beginning of the burn. It was getting stronger. That was the beginning. And then it continued to burn. And then you had Luna. Many of us may have thought that was the end. It wasn't. There was still more to burn. There were more companies to go under. After that had knock-on effects on Celsius, Three Arrows Capital, Voyager Digital. We know about those news stories. Then we see FTX come in. Then they crash. FTX was almost as big as Luna. Not quite, but almost as big as Luna. As far as the company, way bigger. Market cap, no. But huge. $32 billion valued at last January, I think. Or in January, FTX was valued at. Huge company. When FTX went bankrupt, everybody, in my opinion, who was going to go bankrupt is probably about to, or already has. BlockFi being one of them. Binance going bankrupt or Tether imploding on itself are the last two, or Coinbase, but I don't think Coinbase will. I don't think Binance will either, but I'd really like to see some more information about those reserves they post. If you're going to post part of it, you need to post all of it, Binance, CZ. I'm talking to you. If you're going to have that occur, then you need to make sure that you post all those finances. But nevertheless, the point I'm making is that when FTX went under, that is basically leading everybody who is going to go bankrupt to go bankrupt. It basically signals the beginning of the end. It's the last few trees catching on fire, and they're still burning. The forest is still on fire in cryptocurrency, metaphorically. But there's only so much fuel. There's only so much fuel before you get down to the metaphorical bedrock, and last I checked, rock doesn't burn. It can melt, but forest fires don't get that hot. It's not going to burn. The bedrock is here. You, me, most of the people in this chat, and many of the people that are still in this space are the bedrock. We believe in Bitcoin. We love this space. We trust the industry. We love the vision. And we're not going anywhere, and you can't burn us because we built our portfolios correctly. We built our revenue streams correctly. We built what we built in a way that is not going to disappear into the night the way that FTX just did. So Sam Bankman-Fried going to $100,000 signals the very end of this burn. Why does that help Bitcoin go to $100,000? Well, because the bottom's close. And the next bull market, I think, will take us to $100,000. Let me show you. If we look at the Bitcoin chart, you will be able to see that Bitcoin very well may have bottomed. It's very possible that it has bottomed. If it did not bottom, I think the bottom will be no lower than $12,000, but it may be as low as $13,800. Somewhere in this region, I could definitely see Bitcoin going to. It's very possible, though, that Bitcoin does maintain these bottoms, especially if I see Bitcoin jump up here through this gap back up to $20,000 and start knocking on 20K's door. If that happens, wonderful. Okay, maybe we're bullish. I will not bet that we're in a bull market until several things happen. And I've talked about them many times on the channel here. I need to get my moving averages up because this is one of the last places that I use moving averages for. Moving averages here are very important. Looking out on the weekly chart, I want to show you a couple of moving averages here. The 50 and the 200. If you look at the history of Bitcoin, I'll have to go on the BLX chart. If you look at the history of Bitcoin, on the daily chart, actually, I want to show you. No, actually on the weekly chart. Let's go out here to the 50 and the 200. As you can see, whenever no, actually, I do want to show you the daily chart. I'm sorry. Let me pick a side. Here we go. On the daily chart, you can see that whenever Bitcoin has a bullish cross between the 50 and the 200 moving average, such as right here, or moving along here, such as right here, or, for example, such as right here, we generally speaking go into a massive bull market or into a massive leg up on the market. You can see right here. But even looking out to longer term time frames, for example, on the 3 daily chart, we can look at these moving averages and get a better understanding as well. On the 3-day, bullish cross right there. Out here on the 3-day, bullish cross right here, more bullish crosses right here. We basically traded sideways and stayed bullish. Those crosses on the 3-day chart, in my mind, basically indicate to me that we're going into a bull market. What I really need to see happen here is for Bitcoin to have a bullish cross between these two moving averages, which would mean this has to turn around aggressively. This would turn around on its own as well, and then see that cross. That cross is going to happen no sooner than something like this, which would be in February, and you would have to see Bitcoin probably go up to at least $28,000 to $30,000, if not higher, before you saw that cross. Before I see that cross, I'm not calling a bull market. I want to see Bitcoin above that level, at least above 25K right here, before I have any kind of confidence that we're going into a bull market, especially with how aggressively we have rejected from the 200 moving average. You can see how we've rejected from it several times in the past. We very well may even come up and reject from it again if we jump up to $20,000 and then get rejected a third time. That could be what causes our final leg to the downside, where we drop down to $13,800 if we are indeed going to do that. So don't think we're out of the woods yet just because we're rallying $400 over the last 24 hours. This means nothing yet. $650 to the upside. That's a cool sign, but the fact of the matter is that doesn't give us a whole lot of information. We've barely set new higher highs, and we're in an ascending wedge, which will more than likely break to the downside if it does break in either when it does go through that breakout. So don't make any real long-term bets on this little movement right here, because a lot of things are betting against it. But So let's talk again about how Sam Bankman-Fried going to 100,000 sends Bitcoin to 100,000. Well, here, it lines up with everything. Number one, the Russia-Ukraine conflict is probably going to slow down over the next month or so as the winter mud starts to set in. It's not so cold that the ground's turning to frost and it's hard for tanks to move across, but the ground is very muddy right now because of all the snow, and it's still warm enough that it has not frozen solid, which means the militaries in play over there are going to get bogged down, and the conflict's probably going to slow down a little bit. We're probably also going to see a slowdown in the effective federal funds rate. Jerome Powell is going to be talking at 1:30 today. We pretty much know that it's going to be a 50 basis point rate hike at this point. We can be very confident in that assertion. On top of that, we also realize that a lot of what's going on in tech, and I can go here, a lot of what's going on in tech is leading to a lot of very high quality talent leaving places like Google, Meta, Twitter. Twitter just laid off almost 10,000 people, including all of its contractors. Alphabet just laid off, I think they're about to lay off 11,000 people. Meta just laid off 11,000 people. You have tens of thousands of new coders and software engineers that are coming into the workforce that were otherwise locked up at big tech, that now a lot of them are probably going to go into crypto, where anybody in big tech can look and say, wow, the next 5 years there is big. That's one of the best industries to jump into. So you're going to have a lot of talent coming into the cryptocurrency world. That is a very big deal. There's a lot of things in play here, and all of them are coming together at about the same time. Technically speaking, you're seeing Bitcoin likely going through a bottoming event pretty much right now. You're also basically seeing that there is a huge movement of talent coming into the cryptocurrency space right now. On top of that, you are seeing that the effective federal funds rate is likely going to be dropping. You're seeing the Dixie start going to the downside. Everything is coming together in a perfect storm that in January, February, March, quarter one of 2022, you're likely going to see a big blast off where Bitcoin takes off up to $25,000 or $30,000. On top of that, if you'll remember to what we talked about before with the halving cycle data that I showed you, how far away we are from the next halving event, you can see this is a few days old now, but it's basically the same data. In the last two bull markets, this far away from the halving, we were about to kick off the uptrend. You can see in both of these previous bear markets, going back to 2015 and to 2019, we were not far from kicking off the bull market. And that's where we are right now in the halving cycle. We should be very close to kicking off the bull market. Now, the tricky thing here is that we're actually seeing a 5,200 bearish cross right now over on this market. But guess what? When did that happen? That actually happened towards the end of the bear markets. See that? Happened basically towards the end of the bear markets when we saw these two moving averages cross. This market is set up to start a shallow but definitive uptrend in the next 6 months. And you're likely going to see it start in a big way, and you're likely going to see a lot of big players jumping into the space because there's great deals. I mean, Cardano was down. Let's look at Cardano, for example. Cardano is down exactly 90% right now, I think, because it rallied to $3.14. It's currently trading at 31.4 cents. It's down exactly 90%. Bitcoin, just take a look at it. Bitcoin is down from all-time high, 75%. Ether is down from all-time high, 75%. You know what an investor sees you know what an investor thinks when they see that and they realize that this is a solid industry that will make a comeback and is just going through a bear market? They say, so it's proven to me that it can be 4 times higher than it is right now. So you're telling me if it just goes back and does what it did in the past, which we've seen growth in the industry, so it certainly will, or we can be very confident that it will. So you're telling me that if it does that, then I'll get 4x on my money. That's what an investor sees. That's what a traditional whale sees, is that, wait a second, so you're telling me that I can put 2% of my $100 billion asset under management into Bitcoin and quadruple it in 3 years? Yeah, I mean, that would take several decades in the stock market. Decades. I mean, what? Is it like 12 years to double your money in the stock market? That'd take 36 years, not including the compounding, to get a 300% return, when you could get that in 3.6 years in Bitcoin. Of course, the funds are going to jump on that as soon as they see some kind of bull market confirmation. You think these funds that have hundreds of billions of dollars in asset under management, the pension plan, the pension funds, the sovereign wealth management funds, you think they don't have technical analysts just like me looking at these charts saying, yep, After this moving average crosses this moving average, after we see it break this market structure, after we see it break this resistance, after this certain geopolitical factor plays out, it is very likely to go into a rally. You think there aren't hundreds of billions of dollars sitting on the sidelines waiting to be deployed? I can tell you where $70 billion is sitting on the sidelines right now. It's locked up in Tether. Tether has a $65 billion dry powder reserve right now. That money, that is so high because people are waiting for the jump in. They're waiting for the whistle to be blown so that we can dive into crypto. If you look at the last several months here, look at what Tether has done. Look at what Binance USD has done. Look at what USDC has done. Ever since 2021, the beginning of 2021, we have seen the market capitalization of these assets skyrocket. From a combined market cap percentage of total market cap of like 2.7% all the way up here to like 15%. Like 15% of the market is in stablecoins. Why? Because everybody's got money on the side that they're ready to dump into the space. They're just waiting on that confirmation. They're just waiting on the fire to put itself out. And it's going to put itself out. Every fire needs three things. It needs oxygen, a fuel source, and it needs heat. There's plenty of heat in the cryptocurrency space right now, most of it directed at SBF. There's plenty of oxygen and there's plenty of fuel. The fuel right now are companies that were built incorrectly and traders that are going into long positions that on leverage too soon that get liquidated. But the fuel is running out. The oxygen is running out. The fire is getting choked out right now in crypto, and it is almost smoldering. It's just a little bit of flame left. And it's going to choke itself out in the next few months. And when it does, what stops the new roots from popping up? There's no fire anymore. There's still plenty of fertile soil. In fact, a controlled burn in a forest often makes the soil more fertile because it returns all the nutrients from the trees and the dead things that burned to the soil. So the soil right now, the area that we can grow in crypto is more fertile than ever. People are going to come into crypto because of that controlled burn. It wasn't so much very controlled, but after that burn is over, they're going to come back into the space and they're going to deploy those assets. Don't you believe? Don't you think? Tell me if you think I'm wrong. Don't you think there is over $1 trillion sitting on the sidelines? Where'd the money go? Where'd the money go? We had $3.3 trillion in market capitalization. You mean to tell me that there was not some of that left sitting on the sidelines? $2.839 trillion sitting on the sidelines. You mean to tell me $1 trillion of that isn't sitting there waiting to redeploy? Of course it is. Of course it is. The exchanges are the ones sitting there waiting to redeploy. Binance itself has shown publicly that they have $20 billion in Binance USD. Don't you think they're going to deploy some of that into Bitcoin relatively soon, whenever they think the bottom is in? Everybody's wondering, was that the bottom? That is the question that all of the big money, smart money players are asking. Was that the bottom so that we can confidently buy without our balance sheet going down 25%? Because it would be a 25% drop to the price targets I've talked about down here in the $12,000 to $13,000 region. Is it time now to buy, or do we wait for that final drop so that it's only upside for us? No institution wants to have to tell their clients that they're down 25%. But every institution wants to be able to tell them, we can now be confident that the bottom is in because of a plethora of technical factors that we've outlined in a 10-page blog post over on our website that 17 of our analysts put together. So now we're going to deploy your money into Bitcoin. They want to be able to say that. They want thing that you need to get squared away, and that would be your taxes. One of our sponsors for this channel is Anthony Price. As you can see over here on his website, anthonypricecpa.com. You can come over to his website and get a free consultation where you will be able to get his help for tax planning so that you pay the least amount of money in taxes legally and ethically. Something you guys need to know is that the IRS is after you. They want to get your money. They want to get as much of it as possible, and they do not want to hear about, oh, I missed this. Oh, I forgot this. Oh, it wasn't clear here. They don't want to hear that. What they want to hear is you paid us our money. They're a mob boss is basically what they are. They want the money. So what you want to do is you want to pay as little money in taxes possibly legally so they don't come after you in court and throw you in jail. But you also don't want to pay so much in taxes that you're taking away from your ability to invest in one of the greatest times to ever invest in Bitcoin that has ever appeared. Right now, there is so much certainty of the future bullishness of Bitcoin, while at the same time mirrored with massively low prices. It's one of the greatest, lowest risk, highest return, best risk-reward ratios you will ever find in the history of Bitcoin going back on its 13-year chart, because all the other lows at $200, $300, $3,000, those were a lot lower price, but a lot less certainty of the strength of the industry. Now, the risk-reward ratio is at least as good as those times, and you want to be saving as much money from Uncle Sam as possible to keep it in the Bitcoin market and keep it in crypto. So go to the link in the description box down below and get a free consultation with Anthony Price today so that you can get started on your tax preparation journey and save as much money as possible. Cool. All right, let's go ahead and read chat for a little bit. We got 970 people watching, but only 300 likes. What's going on, guys? Come on, smash that like button. Let's see if we can't get to 500 likes here in the next couple of minutes. Really appreciate all of you tuning in. We've done quite a few roofs in the Peru area. I didn't know that. Shout out to you. ADA went down 99.8% last bear cycle. Yeah. Just goes to show you why you need to be actually washing your hands rather than using hand sanitizer, because if you kill 99.8% of something, there's still enough around for it to come back. I'm sorry, that was terrible. Yeah, my wife just face palmed at me. If you guys don't know, Sarah's normally behind the camera while I'm live. She's like, oh gosh, Jebb, that was awful. You know that like brain freeze feeling? That's probably what she's feeling right now. Like, oh gosh, that just, I can feel my brain cells dying by the second. Grand Roofing, I wanted to tell you, I was up on a roof last night because we are putting our Christmas lights up. As you guys know, Christmas is coming, and in our family, Christmas begins November 1st. I know. We get a lot of hate for that. We get a lot of flack for that, but apparently everybody else in the neighborhood does too, because there's all kinds of neighborhoods that are all lit up. One of our neighbors, a guy named Pat, came, saw that all of my nieces and nephews were there, and my son was there. He saw that we had, some kids. We have a son, and then my aunt and uncle-in-law and their 4 kids are staying with us. And so he saw that there were a bunch of kids over. So he came over in like the best lit house in the entire neighborhood, walked over and gave me a cardboard box full of lights. He gave us like 5,000 Christmas lights. So myself and my wife and my Sarah's uncle and aunt-in-law, her aunt and uncle, my aunt and uncle-in-law, and their kids, we were all outside putting lights up last night. So I've never decorated a house before in my entire life with Christmas lights, but I did last night, and it was awesome, and it looks really good, I think. Maybe we'll give you a picture. I don't know. We'll see. My great-grandpa was an elephant tamer or something. That's pretty awesome. Haha, sounds like Gary Gensler. Gary Gensler, yeah, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. It is criminal. If you're talking about SBF, yes, I agree it is. So I want to hear you guys' thoughts. What do you think about what I'm saying? That Sam Bankman-Fried going to $100,000 signifies the bottom of the bear market, in my opinion. And then from there, I think we will blast off to $100,000. I do think that we are going to see that. Yes, I do. And so here's the other thing, guys. Let's just look at the chart here on Bitcoin a little bit. Bitcoin right now is currently trading at $16,875 and change. But if you just look at Lux Algo, I mean, it's dire. We've been under a confirmed sell signal since here. In April of 2022, we've been under this confirmed sell signal, and we've been dropping like a rock ever since then. But luckily, we're in the take profit zone for this strong sell signal that came in here. The thing is, both of these signals are actually invalid, so you actually attribute this take profit up here to the previous sell signal because these nix themselves and cancel each other out. But we did drop down into the take profit zone, and we did have an X, which signifies a turnaround, which is pretty exciting in its own right. On top of that, if we take a look here at the VPVR, you'll also see that over the last several years, the VRVP, excuse me, they changed the name on me in TradingView about a year ago, and I still haven't gotten used to it. You can see that the majority of the trading range right here starts here at roughly $12,400. So that range right there, in fact, I can actually show you that range by coming in here to the VRVP, just so you guys can see how this works. The VAL, sorry, not the VAL, it'd be the VAH actually. This shows basically the majority of the VPVR activity. You can see it auto prints this line. Remember, there's no drawings here. That's all technical indicators on TradingView. Prints this line right here that gives us a price of about $12,000. That's the local bottom that I could see Bitcoin going to. If Bitcoin did drop down here, that'd be an 82% reduction in price. We've dropped 85% in the past. Close enough. Markets don't always repeat themselves, but they do almost always rhyme, if you've heard that saying. And that's what I think you're going to see happen here. You can also see the point of control, the POC right here, sitting at the exact local bottom back over here. The other thing to keep in mind is that on the longer term time frames, we'll just go out to the 3-day chart where I can show you this. On the longer term time frames, Bitcoin is actually below a crucial uptrending level of support that had been in play for a multitude of years. You can see it right here. We've dropped below this uptrending level of support, and pretty much however you slice it, Bitcoin is still below it. You can even see that the uptrending level of support was actually broken right back here in a lot of ways and used as resistance. So there's a lot of trend lines right now that Bitcoin is currently flying straight in the face of. But even if we look at the Bollinger Bands here, you'll be able to see it's breaking to the downside out of is breaking the bottom of the Bollinger Bands. Take a look at this. By the way, remember what I talked about with Bollinger Bands or reversal zones on Lux Algo? When they constrict, that normally means a big breakout's coming. Boom. We constricted, breakout. That's what we're seeing right now. We're on the beginning of a new volatile movement here on Bitcoin that probably won't last too long, but nevertheless is actually occurring. Something I also want to show you on the weekly chart, TD sequential currently sitting down here at 4. If we look at the monthly chart, we hit 9 and then bounced from there, and then not bounced, but we traded sideways from there, and we're still overextended on that. We had a 1, but it didn't really mean anything, so I would say that's still giving us some concern. And on top of that, I also want to show you Lux Algo SR and Patterns Premium. You'll be able to see down here on the daily chart a ton of different things. Let's go to a clean chart. Actually, funnily enough, this is a clean chart. One of the things I want to show you on SR and Patterns Premium, this is Lux Algo. I don't think I've ever shown this part of Lux Algo before on the channel, but I'll show you this. I was talking about this with Brian over on our office hours yesterday. I just turn off everything except for projection here. Predictive in the exponential. That's what I was looking for. Then you'll see that there's a really cool system here in Lux Algo with these different lines that is surprisingly accurate, like really surprisingly accurate. Watch this. When I play this in replay, you'll be able to see how this works. Basically, there's always 2 of these exponential lines, an exponential line to the downside, exponential line to the upside that's automatically generated. Let's just play the chart here forward, and you'll see how this works. Eventually, one of them gets invalidated, and then it gets reset to a lower level. And then you're basically realizing, okay, which one are we going to follow? Are we going to follow the exponential to the upside or the exponential to the downside? And then see right around here, the exponential to the downside got broken, so we're following the exponential to the upside. Exponential movement to the upside resets. Are we going to follow the downside movement or the upside movement? Well, let's see which one breaks. And it's the upside. The upside restart, and we're following the exponential to the downside. And that indicated right about here in about January 15th of 2022, based on this indicator, that we were in exponential movement to the downside. And you can see that exponential keeps resetting the upward exponential. The downward exponential brings us all the way down. We're following it very, very well. And then eventually it drops off the face of the earth and it stops. And then we're following this exponential to the upside for a little while. Made a lot of sense. Then it resets because it didn't actually play out. And we're following the downward exponential. Pretty interesting stuff right here. So what we're looking for now on Lux Algo is, are we going to follow the upward or the downward exponential? If we follow the downward exponential, you can see that it's going to bring us down to that $12,000 region, generally somewhere in the area of January or February, if not even sooner. But if we follow the upward exponential here, which is pretty shallow, then we got a lot of ground to make up, and we need to get up here above $21,000 very, very shortly. So that's something I'm going to be looking at. Again, that is a part of the Lux Algo paid indicator. You can find the link for that down in the description box down below. And also just remember, out here on the weekly chart, there are also other technical indicators we're looking at. For example, this is the longest moving average that we look at. That is the this is a 300 weekly moving average. We've never tested this moving average in the history of Bitcoin except for the pandemic drop when we fell down to it. We fell down to that level right here, and we still broke through it. So we're actually below the 300-day moving average, not even the 200-day moving average, because if we look at the 200, then we would see that we fell below that quite a long time ago, and that used to be the market structure support that Bitcoin would hold, but for us, that was not the case. So a lot of things that we're looking at here technically. I think you're going to see $100,000 Bitcoin in the next year to 2 years, but you're going to need to see the burn put itself out first. So that's my question for you. And to wrap up the show, do you think that control burn is almost over? Do you think that FTX is the last major company to collapse? And I'm talking, when I say major, I mean Luna and FTX. That's the category, that's the ball game I'm talking about with major. Do you think there's going to be another BlockFi? Not another BlockFi, another company go down like a Binance or like a Coinbase or like a Tether? Those are 3 that I could think of that are large enough that if they collapsed, it would be Mt. Gox style, FTX style, Luna style, and it could cause a giant crash in the price. Otherwise, if you see something like BlockFi go down, man, BlockFi is not big enough to crash the market. We saw it happen. BlockFi went bankrupt and it didn't do anything to the price. So I love to hear all of your opinion on that. Just remember, guys, right about the time that the bedrock starts feeling a little shaky is right around the time the bottom's close. So if you're the bedrock, and I think you are if you're watching this, then if you're feeling a little bit nervous, it's probably a good indication that the bottom is very close. There's a lot of money to be made in crypto, but you got to play the game. And the game is wait and hold right now. The game is accumulate at the lows if you are able to financially responsibly, not accumulating insofar as you have $9 billion of deposits and you're accumulating with customer funds and then they never get them back and you go bankrupt. But if you have an increase in your, if you have revenue that you can use, whether personally or with your company, to actually invest into crypto, now is a pretty solid time. I'm not quite as confident as I used to be that we're going to drop down to 13.8, but I still do sniff it and I do still think it will happen, especially if we see the stock market continuing to struggle. So on that note, Stefan Isotode said, if S&P 500 goes down, which it will, then we will sure to drop lower. Agreed. If it does go down, we will more than likely follow it. Hearing you speak so fast is like watching a World Cup. Well, the most important cup in the world for me is this one, and it's got my coffee in it. That made Sarah smile. She gave me that cup. All right. Let's see. Yeah, really appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Yesterday, I celebrated my 40th birthday. Wow, how time flies. Good deal. Yeah, so I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on where you think Bitcoin is going to go in the next season here. And yeah, let us know. Sarah's still camera shy. She's not camera shy. We're just not doing a face reveal at this point, but maybe in the future. Maybe in the future. Bedrock Present said, in honor of Queen. Where is Queen today? Queen's in every single stream. Where is she? She's always saying Bedrock. Yeah, Eric Brubaker said, where's Queen? Haven't seen her for a bit. Humstis. Is gold winning against BTC? I don't think so. I was playing soccer still at 40, but I work out religiously. 40 is nothing. Yeah, 40 is the new 20. We have modern medicine. All right. Is there a DeFi crisis ahead? Yeah, I would not be surprised if there is a DeFi crisis ahead. Yep. Ugh, I hate work meetings that cut into YouTube time. Yeah, but guys, tell me, what are you looking forward to most this Christmas season? I'm looking forward to most this being my first Christmas with my family as a married man. Now, I was dating Sarah last Christmas, but we had not been married yet. But I'm really looking forward to spending Christmas as a family for the first time. Pretty cool. Why don't we just go full Bitcoin adoption and use that as our parallel economy? Yeah, there's a lot of people that are doing that. Totally agree. Vortex said, putting up the lights. Do it. Guys, I hope you did enjoy today's stream. We will be back tomorrow. And don't forget, there is an interview with none other than George from Cryptos R Us going up this Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern. And I will be attempting to put up an afternoon video at 10 a.m. Eastern on Sunday to bring back 7-day-a-week content. But that interview with George was phenomenal. It was a really good interview. I'm really looking forward to you guys seeing it. It'll be going up with him, and he'll also be uploading it on his channel. So make sure you go and tune into that interview. You're not going to want to miss it. George is a very intelligent guy. He's got a lot to say, and I'm really appreciative that he came on the channel and looking forward to collaborating with him more in the future. Hashtag Weird George. I think he's got a great channel. So make sure to check him out and all of my other colleagues on YouTube. Before I go, though, guys, I do just want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.